Questions. I recognize the member for Timiskaming Cochrane.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Franco Ontarians from across our province, in fact, Francophones across this country, have made it clear to the Premier that he has disrespected the Francophone community. He has made a major mistake. Will he do the right thing? Restore funding to the French Language University and restore the independent French Language Services Commissioner.
Premier.
Well, through you, Mr. Speaker, Franco Ontarians have played a major role in Ontario. Even though it's 3% of the population in Ontario, they've played a major role of culture and history in different areas of business in Ontario. And we did listen, because I've talked to hundreds of Franco Ontarians, as they have my cell phone number like everyone else does. I had an opportunity to speak to them. They really appreciate us being forward about the university, a false promise made days before the election from the Liberal government to actually use Franco Ontarians.
Premier to withdraw.
Withdraw. Not too sure what I was withdrawing. Through you, Mr. Speaker, they realize that our province was left in a bankruptcy state. $14.5 billion, a deficit we're facing. We're paying interest of over $12 billion a year. They realize they were being used as pawns, and that's shameful to use Franco Ontarians as pawns during the election. We did listen, and what we did, we're empowering the role of the French Language Service Commissioner under the Ombudsman. We have a fantastic new minister.
Stop the clock. Start the clock. Supplementary.
Once again to the Premier, even though they are a founding people of this country, this is more than just a broken promise. The Premier's dashed the hopes of Franco-Ontarian youth by scrapping the plans for a university and told them that their rights won't be respected by scrapping the watchdog who protected French services. Half measures and damage control won't solve this crisis. Will he do the right thing? Restore funding to the French Language University and restore the independent French Language Services Commissioner.
Premier.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, the opposition is misleading the people. There was no funding. There was no funding.
Ask the Premier to withdraw the MP.
Withdraw.
Conclude his response. Order.
It was not in the fiscal budget, but what we did do, Mr. Speaker, we are empowering the role of the French Language Service Commissioner under the Ombudsman. We have a fantastic new Minister of Francophone Affairs, a wonderful person, Caroline Mulroney. Couldn't ask for a better representative. And I'm hiring a senior policy advisor responsible for Francophone affairs in my office. But through you, Mr. Speaker, we have 11 colleges and universities offering 300 courses in French language. And we want those 300 courses to be filled. Unfortunately, they aren't filled. We have to be sure that
Final supplementary.
Once again to the Premier. Franco-Ontarians have always fought to ensure that they have their place in this province and to defend their rights. Now they have one clear request: to cancel those cuts. Will the Premier do what is necessary and to reverse the project to cancel the French University and the Commissioner of French Language Services.
Premier Ministre.
To the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, you can't cancel something that was never there in the first place. We go back to the 11 universities and colleges offering the courses.
Opposition, come to
I
order.
encourage our young people
Opposition, come to
in
order.
high school to fill the courses, fill the 300 courses that we have, and make sure they're filled. So it's our job to get our communities into these French language courses, 300 of them in 11 different colleges and universities across the province, as my opposition leader, a temporary leader, opposition temporary leader knows very well that we support the Franco community in Ontario. I've spoken to hundreds of them. Matter of fact, Speaker, I've spoken to more Franco Ontarians than anyone in this chamber the last few weeks. And